What's going on, everybody out there in YouTube world, YouTube land? I am Real Estate Jay, and
it's gonna be a cold summer.
Welcome to the Cold Summer Podcast. Can I just have a candid conversation with y'all real quick, just like a real conversation? This was a conversation I had with my wife. I seen a video. I'm debating if I want to bring it on my platform because it seemed to be a very sensitive topic to the young lady. So I just didn't want to offend anybody. But I want to talk about moms who purposely choose another guy to be the father of the child, right? So the person, they've slept with a couple people, when they just say, hey, I know this guy was the father, and they find out it's not the father, or the woman knows it's not the father, and they continue living this life that they want to live with this person. And I want to talk to y'all, right? And I want to just have a conversation with y'all because it's on my heart, and I want to let it off. Right? This is a personal conversation of actually a couple people that I know in this situation, and it absolutely makes me upset, right? And so women, mothers who are in situations like this or know that they were sleeping around with multiple people and you just chose someone that was the baby daddy. My question is, why didn't you go do a paternity test, right? Why didn't y'all just, why didn't you be honest with yourself? And see, this is where, I always say, accountability is one of the best things you can have, good or bad. But it seems like a lot of times some women don't have accountability, and there's men that come and save them from their bad decisions, and so life goes on. But if you're sleeping around with multiple people, shouldn't you at least owe the man a paternity test and the truth? Hey, I'm pregnant. I wanted to let you know I have been, active with other people. Let's get a paternity test, right? I just want to make sure this is your child. I'm sorry this happened, but let's just be honest. You know what most men will do? Yeah, they'll be upset. Yeah, they'll be mad. Some of them may, some of them may act how they're going to act during the 9 months. But if it's his child, let it be his child in the right way. Do not ruin men by choosing men that you don't know as the father because you don't want to be accountable for your own actions and ruin the man's life. And here's the kicker.
Sensational.
Your child's life. Because do you know how it's like stealing something from somebody when you don't give your child the right answers on who their father is, the real father, not the father you chose because you thought he was a better man, but their real father who you sat down and slept with. Why don't you give your child the closure and the truth so that they know who their real father is? You made a mistake, maybe. You slept with a couple men or two men, whatever it may be. And you were out there going in with no Jimmy on the Johnson. You know the men you were sleeping with. Why you act like you don't know who you were sleeping with? You got pregnant. Now it's time to own up to your decisions. But don't ruin the one thing that you're supposed to tell the truth on and ruin someone else's life. See, when you not being honest and saying, yeah, I slept with 2 and 3 people, you can save someone's life. There are men out here that are raising children that are not theirs.
Sensational.
And women know this. And then you got the nerve to bring misery to this man because he don't know that that's not his child, but you got the nerve to want to argue and do all that stuff with him. He doing you a favor. You damage your child, you damage the man, and you damage anything else that comes along with it. And I hope any woman out there, unless something actually happened to her that was an unfortunate situation, right? I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, unfortunate, like not consensual, right? Those are not the women I'm talking to. But if this is something where you are consensually sitting down with men, doing these things, and you just choose another man, I hope that no blessings come to you until you address your situation, right? I watched Kirk Franklin documentary, and this man is in his 40s, maybe 50s. He is still he found his real father. But after, like, I don't know, it was like 40 something years, this man thought that the man that was his father died, and it wasn't, because his mother lied to him. This man is in his 50s, I believe, whatever Kirk Franklin is. He's older, and he's hurt. He can't even get over that. Y'all moms that do this think that, oh, they'll just figure it out later. I knew what was good for them. No, you don't know what's good for your child, because your child may have just wanted to know who their real daddy was. And that was probably good for them. That's what was good for them. I know who my real daddy is. Let them choose whether they want to have a relationship with him or not. Not you. Get out your feelings, moms, because you decide to lay down with a deadbeat or whoever it may be. That was your decision. But don't go and say, well, I don't want him to be the daddy because he ain't got nothing going for himself, but I'm messing with Mr. Nice Guy, so I'm going to make Mr. Nice Guy the daddy. And I developed this lifestyle around Mr. Nice Guy because I know it's good for the mama. I've heard people say that, like on these shows, and even, when they've gotten caught up. I know what's good for my child. This was better for them. No, you should have knew what was good for you. So if it wasn't good for you, and you sat down and slept with it, that's your fault. That's your fault. But at least let your child know who their real daddy is. I think one of the worst things you could do to a human being when there are two parents that are able is to strip them of knowing who the real parents are. It's so unfair. And women are saying to people to validate their decision is that I knew what was better for them. But you didn't know what was better for you? You mean to tell me you were making these bad decisions and sleeping around with these men that weren't good for you? And then you had a baby by it? Why do people act like they don't know how sex works? Why do we act like we don't know how sex works? You sit down with somebody. I keep saying sit down. You don't put the Jimmy on the Johnson. There's a chance you get pregnant. They teach you that at an early age. And then you got women out here that are doing this with multiple men. I really believe all this politics and stuff, we should be talking about mandatory paternity tests on all women, right? Even if they're married, it should be a mandatory paternity test. It should be a part of the insurance. It should be protocol. It should be protocol, right? Even if I know, okay, this is me and her, it's part of the insurance, pay for the paternity test. Do you know how many fathers that are not real fathers would find out? You know how many more women may make the right decision next time instead of just saying, whoever signs the birth certificate's the daddy. I take him to child support and the judge can deem whoever they want as the daddy. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You can be deemed as the father because you sign on a birth certificate. You can be deemed as a father if you go through child support. And let's just say you have questions on this, if this is your child or not. The judge can deem you as the father. Paternity tests need to be mandatory. Paternity tests need to be mandatory and a part of every childbirth so that men can know if they're really the fathers and women can find out if that's not the father. Go and find out who is. Go and find out who is. See, let's stop talking about Roe v. versus Wade, and let's stop talking about all this other stuff. Let's start talking about paternity tests. Let's start talking about this, right? Instead of them just putting fathers on kids, and that's not even their father. You know how damaging that is to a man to find out at 18 years old, 20 years old, you know what I'm saying? 30-year-old, your 30-year-old child was never yours. And you were stripped of a life. 2 times. You were stripped of a life because a baby was planted on you, and you lost your entire life because you decided to be with this woman who thought she knew what was good for her child. And you could have met another lady who you could have had a great life with. But because the man, a responsible man, feels obligated, he stays with her, raises that child, and imagine if it was never yours. What? This is my message for women who know they've been sleeping around with multiple guys and don't know who the real daddy is, or they think they know who the real daddy is. Get a paternity test. Stop letting these women walk around that are making bad decisions. Stop letting them walk around and not be accountable. If this offends you, then maybe this is because this fits into your situation. But if you believe that it's okay for a woman to just choose a man to be a father, even though she was doing multiple things with other men, you're the problem. You're the problem. I just don't understand it. It's upsetting to me. There are adults that are in their 50s and 60s still searching for the right dad. Right? They're searching for their real dad. They found out some information. Now they're doing all type of things to find out just who my daddy is. That's something that every human being should be able to know. Who's my mom? Who's my dad? Everything else can fall as it may. But I at least should know who I come from. Women out there, stop stripping kids and ruining men's lives because you don't know who the daddy is. Because you think you know what's good for them. No, you don't know what's good for nobody. Because you don't even know what was good for yourself because you sat down and slept with multiple men and had a baby with somebody and said, hey, I'm just going to choose eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Hey, Fred, come here. You're the dad. And, some men ain't going to question it. Hey, man, I did sit down and sleep with her. I think I might have got her pregnant. And here's the next thing that we should do, men. This is what I'm going to say. And again, if you're offended by this message, ladies, it's because you might fit into this category. You know what we should do, men? As these babies are getting born, you take your own paternity test and you send it to the lab. You do it on your own. You do it on your own. Every man should do it. I don't care if you've been married to her for 10, 12 years. It should be protocol. Just swab them up, send it in. And the moment you have a doubt that if this is your child or not, swab them up, send it in, send it to an address that your girl don't know about, and go pick up the test. Since they don't want to do this in the hospital anymore or at all, since they don't want to do paternity tests in the hospital, mandatory, when that child comes out, men, you go and get a paternity test on them. All right? That's what I'm going to say. Thought I'd get that off my chest. And like I say, after every video, that this is chess, not checkers. And I'm going to see y'all at work.